What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So, we're now dealing with a controversial move here by President Biden and the Biden administration, as the White House has now released $6 billion of Iran's money back to Iran that was freezed. And this is Iran's money, but it was frozen. And this is in exchange for 5 Americans that were basically prisoners in Iran, and Iran would not release them for an extended period of time. Some of them were actually sentenced to 10 years prison in Iran for what, these are things that like Russia and China does as well. Spying under, you know how it goes there, that, they could say you're spying for almost anything. And so the Biden administration has released this money that was Iran's money, $6 billion. Some people are saying this is the right move, bring the Americans home. There's almost no other way. Iran was not going to release these American citizens. And so just imagine if these were your family or not. It's similar to the case of, we're seeing this happen with Russia. We're seeing this happen with China as well. But on the other hand, we're seeing some criticism here because it's almost a case of don't negotiate with terrorists. We're seeing this here where we're seeing some, even Republican Senator Mitt Romney says here, take a look at this. Quote, if we're paying $1 billion per kidnapped individual by essentially releasing the money back to Iran, then you're going to see more kidnappings. And we've seen this with Russia, and this is why Russia or the United States has said, don't go to Russia if you're an American citizen, because you have a high chance that they're just going to detain you on almost anything. That's why you don't negotiate with terrorists. That's why you don't negotiate with kidnappers. The idea of basically paying to release, in this effect, a hostage is a terrible idea. Quote, remember back in the Reagan years, we had, was it guns for hostages? That was the story. Remember that? This is $1 billion for a hostage, he added. Senator Tom Cotton, Republican from Arkansas, called the move shameful as it pays ransom to the worst state sponsor of terrorism. Quote, this is an example of why we have to go ahead and make it very clear to Americans that they cannot travel to certain places in the world where they are likely to ultimately become a hostage. Until we do that, we will constantly be in a set of circumstances where the United States faces negotiations to free detained Americans. Now, the U.S. had negotiated that these funds would only be used for humanitarian purposes with the Iranian government. But look at this report, this interview here with the Iranian government. Take a listen here.
In an exclusive NBC News interview today in Tehran with Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi, the Iranian leader told NBC Nightly News anchor and managing editor Lester Holt that Iran would decide how to spend the $6 billion of its oil revenue that the U.S. agreed to unfreeze in order to win the release of 5 Americans imprisoned for years in Iran. The White House insists Iran would only be able to use that money for humanitarian needs and that it would be monitored by the Treasury very closely. Here's the key exchange on that issue through a government translator that could risk fueling criticism or more criticism of the deal.
Do you believe you have the right to use that money in any way that you see fit?
This money belongs to the Islamic Republic of Iran, and naturally, we will decide, the Islamic Republic of Iran will decide to spend it wherever we need it. How to spend our money, of course, it is under the authority of the Islamic Republic of Iran.
So if I hear you clearly, that it will be used for more than humanitarian purposes in your view?
Humanitarian means whatever the Iranian people needs. So this money will be budgeted for those needs.
طبیعتاً نیاز
And the
مردم ایران تشخیص
needs of
شده
the
و
Iranian people will be decided and determined by the Iranian government.
Now, on the other hand, if the United States doesn't do this, we continue to see prisoners stay in Iran, maybe until their death or for decades, and we cannot bring them home. So we've seen this not just in the Biden administration, but also in previous administrations through multiple presidents where they try to bring them home. And, we've seen this with Brittany Griner, the U.S. Olympic gold medalist, and we've seen them try to bring Paul Whelan home as well, the former U.S. Marine, and multiple people. So the question here is, and again, you even heard them say this was Iran's money. Do you try to bring American citizens home when they're wrongfully or not detained, or do you just let them sit there and rot? Yeah, I don't know. I would personally, if I was the president, try to bring any U.S. citizens home when I could. Keep in mind that again, you want to be mindful of how much you're giving away at any given time. You're always going to get criticism from the opposite party. Um, you also got to be mindful here of creating enemies with other countries as well, especially with this time of right now with Russia, China, and North Korea, especially. How many other enemies do you really want to create? Do you really want to force other countries like maybe Iran and Iraq? Do you really want to force them too much to the other side? This actually, if you really think about it, this actually creates a little bit of goodwill by releasing their money to them, and we get some Americans back home. You can let me know your thoughts on this. I get that you're going to get criticism no matter what, especially from Republicans on Biden's side. We're bringing Americans home. I get it. It's a tough situation either way. If you don't bring the Americans home, you're going to get criticism as well. You look at the Paul Whelan situation where we have not been able to bring him home. There's been criticism for not being able to bring him home. Trump got criticism for not being able to bring Paul Whelan home as well. Yeah, really tough decisions, especially when you have American citizens, especially when they've served in the army as well, when you can't bring them home. Yeah, again, God bless anybody who served our country and gets caught as a prisoner of war, basically. You'll see this with Russia, China, and think about the guy who went over the North Korean line. We might not ever see him again. And again, I get it that a lot of people say, oh, they chose to do this. They chose to go to Iran. They chose to go to Russia. You got to remember that everybody has a different situation. Some of these people may have been there for years. Some of these, people made a wrong decision in the moment, and now they're going to be there, in prison for many years. So, what's the saying? Let those without sin cast the first stone. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I don't know. We're going to be bringing some Americans home, and I can thank God for that. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these situations are just really, really geopolitical situations are really, really tough, and a lot of times they're just not clean-cut situations. This is why I really wouldn't want to be president, because these are tough situations, bro, and you can't make everybody happy all at once. And it's like you imagine being the president in situations like this. If you don't bring them home, there's a lot of people unhappy. If you do bring them home, there's a lot of people unhappy that you release the money. It's really, really tough. Yeah. Let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date. If you haven't yet, click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. I'll keep you up to date here with everything happening here on a daily basis. Thanks for liking and sharing these videos. Click here to see the major warning that the White House just sent out for millions of Americans, or click here to see what Putin and North Korea just did. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.